kind of like a, I think people like my possess. I'm kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
the analytics I love to like.
You just see how games and possessions play more intense, how they mean more.
I'm not putting him on.
I think the U.S. is going to obviously win it.
Hello and welcome to a WNBA Finals edition of Nothing But Respect. We are joined by Defector's Maitreyi Anantharaman and Jordan Robinson, writer, WNBA personality, host of the Women's Hoops Show, and most importantly, former host of Spinsters. And of course, we are also joined by Patrick Redford. We were talking before about Sacktown because Patrick and Jordan are both Sacramento natives. Patrick, what was the mascot situation at your high school?
The McClatchy High School mascot was the Lions, which I feel like is of all the representatives of the animal kingdom, perhaps the most basic choice. But my friend was the mascot himself, so I have a very respectful relationship with the Lions. Jordan, we heard rumors about a possible jersey retirement.
Oh my God, no!
Of the River City Raiders is going to be
right after this. You're flying
Raptors.
out, yeah.
No way.
Did you talk to me briefly about any 30 pieces? Because you played in college. You were a bucket. So did you hang any like 30 bags on like somebody who's just trying to finish calculus?
I got one 30-piece in high school, just one, and
it's more than
it
me.
Was in a tournament. And it was against Salesian, which is like a really big school in the Bay Area. And their star player was like going to Louisville on a scholarship. And it was like they came into this tournament and won every single time. And then this was River City's first time. And I had 31 maybe, but it was great. Good. Don't go back and watch that footage. The percentage was not good. It was a lot of shots, but that's okay. We got it done.
You'll be able to find Jordan's Max Preps page and all attached highlights indexed in the show notes below.
Lord.
Speaking of 30 pieces, Jackie Young scored 70% of 30 in the third quarter yesterday of Game 2. We wanted to have you guys on because obviously it's WNBA Finals time. Maitreyi is actually coming to us live from the craps table at the MGM Grand. She attended games 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm here because I already blew my per diem on slots, so I had nothing to do for the rest of the day.
This is your first time in Vegas, right?
I've been to Vegas before. I'd never been to a game in Vegas. I've never covered a game in Vegas. You've been to a game there, Patrick.
I have.
Pretty hopping.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what are your impressions of the ultra lifestyle and just generally like?
It is so loud. It was just like unbelievably loud. I'm not even that sensitive to noise, and they play it even while they're playing too. They play loud music while they're playing too. There's no reprieve.
Jordan, you've been there too, I gather.
Yes. I've been there for a postseason game, but also All-Star was there, so was able to go a couple times. That's when Sabrina made the record of the 3-point line, and I was there, and that was amazing. It's a really solid arena. Like you can really feel the crowd. It's a lot of people, but it doesn't feel that way. And you're in the middle of a casino and you're like, how is this even here? How is this possible logistically wise? But it's a great arena. I love it.
Do they still have like, when I was there, I remember there being like a trampoline behind one of the baskets, and someone was either bouncing on the trampoline or there were like dancers going like during possessions. Like it really was like a very Vegas style experience.
I did not see any trampolines behind the basket, but
I guess the finals you put the trampoline.
I wish you told me that before. Maybe. I would have looked more closely.
That's a really compelling idea. Steve Ballmer has obviously attempted to innovate on free throw stuff with the wall, but the idea of having like 2 or 3 extreme extremely acrobatic haters, like pole vaulting up to make kind of direct eye contact with Alyssa Thomas as she shoots free throws. Maybe that's why she missed the free throws. Maybe there was a trampoline and the free throws happened. Let's of course, like we're talking about game one and two. I kind of want to just go through them as two separate games because there is a lot to say about the adjustments between the two games, etc. But also just like game one was this epic game, like an amazing, WNBA finals game. Like this is as much as you can possibly ask for out of a high leverage game. I'll start my three with you. What were you kind of expecting coming into game one? And like, did it play out like you expected? Did it subvert your expectations? What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't have specific expectations for the game, but I think I did have some expectations for the series, and they have sort of borne out and sort of not. I think my one thought is I just didn't really think Phoenix had a solution for A'ja Wilson the way Seattle had Malonga or Indiana had Aaliyah Boston, and solution is kind of overstating it, right? It was just some kind of ostensible obstacle there, right? And I just didn't think Phoenix had that, and so I was pretty sure A'ja was going to get hers, and she did. And then I was also worried about the Aces switching and the way the Phoenix offense works, which is so geared on mismatch hunting, and I didn't know exactly how that would play out. And I think in the first half of game one, they were just kind of spamming the same thing over and over and over, and it was working. So they kept doing that. And then the Aces made a change in the second half, went into a zone, and the Mercury just didn't really have a answer in the moment. And so I think it started off like the way I thought it would, and now come the adjustments.
What about you, Jordan?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I felt like we got it right with these two teams being in the finals, which you don't and can't always say. And even though these two teams would not have been my guess at the beginning of the season, I was like all in for a Minnesota Liberty rematch. But now that we're here, it's like, okay, we got it right. This is, two of the top players in the league with A'ja versus AT. They're guarding each other. How is that going to work? Like, I had a lot of questions there. And also thinking about their regular season record going up against each other, with the Aces winning 3-1, and that one win was when A'ja was not playing for the Mercury. When that's the game that the Mercury won. So I came in expecting like the Aces are going to win this series, but I was pleasantly surprised by the resistance of the Mercury in that first game. I think the specific play that has had so much success for the Mercury is the guard coming and setting a back screen at that free throw line for AT to either drive or do a spin move off of it. And the Aces they knew that was going to be in film. They knew that they needed to pick that. And in game one and game two, I just felt like they were way more scrappy, getting more hands on the ball, stripping the ball from AT. And she really runs the Mercury, like from an assist perspective, when she's driving, when she's aggressive. So for them to kind of neutralize her in both of these games have been really great to see. And then the Mercury's 3-point shooting too, with Ka going off for 5 in that first game in the first half. I was like, oh, shoot, this is going to be a long night. I don't think I knew Ka was going to step up in the finals because she's a former finals MVP. But for the Aces to be able to make that adjustment so fast, I think that's just a nod to Becky Hammon and how she has a ridiculous clipboard. And you can see that in this series.
Yeah, like Maitreyi, you actually wrote about this for the site today. The zone adjustment specifically in game one as like one of the main things that turned it, and you compared it to something that happened in the finals a few years ago when Becky was just like, I'm going to throw something at my team that they've never done before. And just like, I have this confidence they can execute. So what happened there?
Yeah, I think that's something I've started to appreciate about the Aces in this series. Sometimes with really talented teams, you like forget to think about the specific things that actually make them good. Like we talk about what Asia's good at and what Chelsea's good at and what Jackie's good at. But as a team, like for the last few years, I think they've been one of the best conditioned teams in the league, and that's kind of allowed them to do so well in the playoffs with a pretty short rotation. But also, I think now this series, I felt like they can just kind of like do a lot of what Becky asks of them, and she has really high standards for them, and she trusts that they can do whatever she wants. And they figure it out. They're just a team that kind of figures it out on the fly, and I admire that about them. And I think that's been the difference because Phoenix can't do that.
Well, and it also, we joked on previous episodes sort of about the what did you guys call it? Mineral Lloyd?
Mineral Lloyd.
Just about the washed allegations. These are sort of like older aging stars, etc. The flip side of this is like there is a inherent sort of ability to learn on the fly, a experience, the lights not being so bright. Like I did think Jewell Loyd was extremely calm in game one in this high leverage situation, just sort of coming in, Jackie struggling a little bit and just, stabilizing the ship. And Chelsea Gray, same thing. Like she's just, she really reminds me of like the late career Andre Iguodala, just sort of such a stabilizing, like veteran presence. So that's the flip side of assembling an unction in Las Vegas.
An unction. The Jewel thing that like I liked most in game one. I think they may have closed with this lineup. It was the Asia, Jackie, Chelsea lineup, but then with Dana, Evans, and Jewel. And it was like a very small group. And like the Mercury are like they're a very large team, especially with Dawana playing sort of like a, I guess, kind of shooting guard, mostly just standing there, 6'4" role. But like I feel like Jewel just grabbed like 5 or 6 of the most backbreaking like rebounds I've seen. Like I guess I didn't really expect her to be someone who was like so good at all the dirty work, and like that really seemed to make a difference in those like very like tense, high leverage plays towards the end of game one.
Yeah, I thought the guards just as a group did a really great job of all those little things, of the steals. Chelsea, this is just fun to watch for an entire game if you decide to focus on it. But Chelsea is so good at timing up steals. Like I think she has a 100% success rate. Anytime I see her like hand poking in, I'm like, all right, this is going the other way. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think the guards did a really good job. Becky was saying at practice after game one, like with the Mercury playmakers being as big as AT or as Satu are, you can kind of make them uncomfortable by having all these little people like scuttling around them and underneath them. And she just said it's not fun to play like that. She was a pretty short player herself, but she was just talking about other short players playing around her and like how they could kind of annoy her when she was playing. And so that's something that in the kind of length versus speed matchup has been something to watch.
Yes, the Dana Evans Dawana Bonner matchup is like exactly that. Like
right.
You already saw
that is length
BB
versus speed first
just push her because she's like, get away. You are down there. You're only 5'6". Why are you guarding me? But it worked, and she was able to still get shots off. To your point about Chelsea Gray, that is like textbook old head basketball. Like I am not going to overexert myself. I'm going to time it perfectly, and we're going to get this steal. I'm not going to be in a defensive stance the whole time. I can't. My knees, my back, I can't do it. So I'm going to rely on my quick hands, and it has been perfect so far. And they have been, like I said, just been able to strip the ball so often. And that's, don't come in here if you think you're going to get a steal. And Jewell Loyd, I love that she has like taken it upon herself to get offensive rebounds. the Aces really struggled with that against Indiana, giving up so many O boards. And I feel like Jewel is like, okay, I'm going to shoot a corner three and I'm getting O boards. That is my role in this for this team in this series. And it has really paid off. I love that she has like carved out that lane for her.
Yeah, especially because I thought the Mercury in the last series were very good at rebounding, and that was a huge difference for them against the Lynx. So I've also been impressed with what the Aces have been able to do, because I know just even in the regular season that's been a struggle for them.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I think I think game 5 of Fever Aces, Fever had 40 rebounds to the Aces 21. Like they were just like beating the shit out of on the glass.
Yeah.
And I think it's like if you can survive that kind of test, like Becky had this quote, I think after game 2, where she was just like, the Fever are like a tougher matchup for us in a lot of ways. And I think the glass is one of them. And it's funny because like the Mercury are such a big team, but then like I don't really understand like what Satu is like supposed to be doing in this offense. But then like I think that, and then I think, wow, they really could have stolen game 1. So I'm just curious, like, do you think the Mercury almost winning game 1 was like more of just like Ka going crazy and like a really good shooting performance, or like do you see something in there that they can like build off of?
Yeah, looking back, I didn't feel as discouraged about the Mercury as I do now. But looking back, that's a game where Asia is not playing super well and Jackie is not playing super well. And you can't really rely on that to happen every single game. And obviously it did not happen in game 2. And so then the difference was the bench, the famously great Aces bench, right? And so that was just kind of a backbreaker that Dana Evans comes in to do that. I mean, I will say, like, we say, okay, they just have to stop the, inverted actions. That's a lot easier said than done, right? They have to kind of keep that up for 40 minutes, right? And do you actually have the energy to do that, I think, is the question for the rest of the series, because that's a way the Mercury can kind of get their offense going again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
No, I was just going to add about Satu. I think she's they call her the unicorn for a reason. Has a very unique skill set. And I think even coming into this season, when she signed in free agency, it was a little bit of question marks of like, okay, how is this going to work? Like with her, AT and Ka all on the perimeter, it does give you that size, but the shot selection for Satu is my huge thing, especially in game 2. I know we're talking about game 1, but the contested threes is like, that's not it. That can't be it. When she started driving, getting and ones or floating to the corner after somebody or AT was driving, that has to be way more of your game. And we see when she does go off, that's what happened. So it is a little bit trying to pick your spot and pick better shots to shoot from and spots on the floor. That's my thing about Satu.
It's funny, like a couple episodes before, I've kind of been just like, oh, dude, Satu's so fun to watch. Like, I love watching Satu. And I have been noticing Maitreyi and Patrick have been like, yeah, I mean, like turnovers or whatever.
I mean, it's like fun to watch in both directions. There's always like something going on there.
Yes.
Well, I'm
better or for
realizing
worse.
I'm like earlier into this sort of like life cycle of watching this player where I'm just like, oh, that's amazing. They're doing a step back 3. And
You're not sick of her shit yet.
You're like, she's like one of the most, talented and physically gifted players. Like, why doesn't she shoot an 8-footer or something? So was
it game 1 when AT and DB went over to her and they're like, what are you doing? Stop doing all this dumb stuff. And she had like the tech and she fouled out, right?
Yeah, it was after she got that foul and then she got a tech and AT was like, come on. We do not need this right now. I mean, that was a part of the downfall of why the Mercury lost that game. Like, I think multiple times throughout that game, they had to come and check her emotions and her attitude, because sometimes that can get the best of her. And now you're taking yourself out of it without even the shot selection, with the fouls, with everything else that goes on. She is a very animated player that we know and we love her for it, but also there's a time and a place for it. And I think that's what DB and AT were reminding her.
One thing I wanted to talk about the possible hope for the future, because it's funny that we've been talking about this like, oh my god, the Aces are this has just been an Aces dominance pod so far, but there was a 3-point, AT hits one or both of those free throws, which you would usually make, or at least usually make one. We're talking about this very differently. One of the things that I was really just continue to be impressed with is how kind of masterfully this Mercury team moves around AT. Like when she gets they are so advanced in their playmaking around her. It is so much more than, this is why it's like this cracked heliocentrism or whatever. It's like one they're not just doing like, drive, the defender has to help strong side and pass, because we're past that now. Like the Becky has them doing all these kind of like inverted switches, blah blah blah. There was a play where AT, I have a little breakdown in the run of show because I wanted to like just articulate how complicated this is. AT has Jewel Lloyd on a switch and like drives, and Alyssa Smith doubles. Jackie Young immediately sinks in, which is like a perfect way to guard all of this. And normally that would like neutralize this play. Like, oh, the double happened, you help the helper, and then you recover out. But Westbeld, I have no idea how. Just like immediately instead of dumping in was like, I'm actually going to set a crazy flare screen. And AT noticed it also instantaneously while being doubled, looks off Asia Wilson, and then like flings it to the corner for a wide open Kalia Cooper 3. And it's like, that is heliocentricity, right? That's like, oh, let me get my decision maker to make all the decisions. But it's so much more active and like chaotic and impressive than, dribble, pass. Like, so I do think it's just at the very least, like the Mercury can operate at an extremely high level. So it's like there is some possible hope for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were a couple other sequences in that first half. And I think this is like, sort of gets back to like why Becky's adjustment is so good, is like where they get an advantage and they're doing the kind of like soccer style triangle passing, like from the top of the key in, then back out to the corner. And like, I think that basically relies on like either AT just like getting someone to bite on a double or something. And like, I guess this is also where Chelsea comes in. Just like, if you're worried about like, this like very slow developing thing in the middle where you can be attacked from all sides, then like, you're just not going to be as confident getting that going,
Jordan, you mentioned but that it's fun that AT and Asia are sort of guarding each other. Can you talk a little bit about like because they have been guarding each other, and then they've also been at various times they were seemingly various teams were trying to scheme to get them off each other, et cetera. So like, what have you seen around that? Because it's always fun when two superstars guard each other.
Absolutely. It's always fun. And I think the thing that makes this matchup a little different is that height-wise, they're not the same. But AT is very much a post player if she wants to be, because she is so strong. And so I was curious how that was going to match up, because I was like, well, Asia, just shoot over every single time. That is what we're seeing a lot of. But on the opposite side, Asia saying that I have to kind of guard a guard. Like, I have to fight through screens. I'm not automatically in drop coverage. I have to, like, AT is a point forward to a T. So Asia is kind of being put out of her comfort zone and having to guard Alyssa Thomas in that way. But I think it has been very successful in the sense that AT I just think she's thinking twice about a lot of things, where in previous matchups or in previous series in the playoffs, it was very much like, I'm not even seeing this defender in front of me right now. I'm going to drive, I'm going to kick, I'm going to do whatever I need to do. And Asia, at the very least, is making her think twice about it. That's what a multi-time depoy is going to do. So I think, I don't know if it's been a good or bad. I don't know if they're going to have Alyssa Thomas on Asia in game 3. You saw AT get in foul trouble, so she kind of had to switch and guard Alyssa Smith for most points to try to stay out of foul trouble. But I think Asia is very much like, okay, give me the ball on the block, on the free throw, on wherever you give it to me. I'm going to shoot over her because she can't block my shot, which is to your point, what we were talking about earlier. Dom Malonga disrupted Asia Wilson's shot selection. I don't see AT really disrupting anything that Asia wants to do. I think she could have had 40, she could have had 30, game 1, game 2. The shots just weren't going in. But I don't feel like she was being disrupted in that way. Are they going to put Mac on her? She was giving her the business too. Like, she was scoring all over her. Are you going to bring in Kalani Brown just to put up a hand? I don't know. Nobody has the solution to slow down Asia Wilson. I think they need to just throw everyone on her. I do see that they are like, we trust you, Alyssa Thomas. We love you. You're our star. We're going to put you on an island in single coverage. You can't do that. You cannot run single coverage against Asia Wilson. I feel like the last time she's seen single coverage was probably middle school. Like, you just can't. So I'm very curious what those adjustments are going to be. But like we've been talking about, there are other weapons in the Aces and on their offense. So you can try to double, then Jackie might go for 40. So I'm not sure. I'm not getting paid to make those adjustments. So I don't know.
I almost wonder if the Mercury could try a little bit of zone just to like, I mean, I guess Jackie did just have that third quarter, and like the Chelsea 3-point shot has been like pretty good over the last 4 or 5 games. But like, the thing that I was struck by, I watched like the highlights back of both games today. The Mercury got so much in transition in game 1, and like they just didn't have any opportunities to do that because Asia and Jackie just made like everything. Mm-hmm. And I think, I mean, because AT especially, it's like if she gets momentum, then like there's nothing you can do to stop her. Like there were several plays where Nalissa was like set up, and it's just like she just didn't notice she was there and got straight to the rim. So I feel like just like anything you can do, even if you're surrendering like an open corner 3, you just maybe like have to roll those particular dice, because otherwise your offense can just be like so easy to stop, and you get that foul trouble issue, which is like so big in game 2.
Yeah, it is true. The only other thing, like I sense, I'm curious, Maitreyi and Jordan, what you think about this, is that the Ace, what made the Mercury special in some of the earlier rounds is their like super ball pressure defense was like legitimately disrupting the other team's ability to just sort of like even just get into their sets. And I just sense that the Aces are unfazed. Like the screen happens, they trap the screen, and they just like lob it over to Asia, and they're back into their offense. Are you guys also seeing that kind of like dynamic, or what do you think about the kind of how the Mercury can either ratchet up the ball pressure, or are they just kind of DOA there?
I am seeing that, but I'm also seeing them just hit really tough shots sometimes, and so that's just hard to stop if you're the Mercury. But that's what I thought was great about the Jackie quarter, is that she's such a great athlete and can pretty much handle anything or get by anyone. And so, yeah, I think she's probably not as susceptible to some of the normal things the Mercury want to try.
Absolutely. Yeah. Here's the thing. The Jackie quarter was insane. And
in all caps, the Jackie.
In all caps, insanity. The hoop was the ocean. Like, you're not stopping that at all because she wasn't missing. But also, like, call a timeout, Nate Tibbetts. Jeez, stop the bleeding. Stop something. Spill something on the court purposely. I don't know. Stop it. But I think this idea that the Mercury, something's going to have to change. I would be curious if they do a zone. I would be curious if they go deeper into their bench to just bring something different. What do you have to lose? Like, you have to try to switch things up for sure.
I think maybe closing with someone besides Dawana would be a good place to start. Cause like the last like 8 minutes of game one were just like so good, so intense. Everyone was like executing at this like really, really high level. And also Dawana was there. Either just like missing these like real hooper shots or sort of just like standing around and like getting a rebound on accident, or like one in every 20 possessions making like the craziest thing you've ever seen. But I'm not really sure if you want to go with a Koa Makani, or you probably don't want to play Mac, especially against that small lineup. Like it's just not a lot of good options. And I guess more Sammy Whitcomb sort of makes sense if you're going to go on shooting, but like she was guarding Jackie during the Jackie Young quarter for a lot of that. And like,
she's a liability on the defensive side for sure.
So I don't know, just like, I feel like the Mercury should feel more confident that they're going home, especially because they've built so much of their offense around shooting. And like Sammy has taken, you wrote about this, Maitreyi, like what, 150,000 practice shots, like 10x more what Devin Booker has even thought about taking. And so maybe they'll be more comfortable there. And the Mercury crowd has been good all playoffs too. So maybe that's a case for optimism.
Yeah, I think these are two good buildings.
Anything looking forward to game 3 before we pivot to game 1 of a larger battle?
Well, really game 2 of a larger battle.
Game 2 of a larger battle.
I'm looking forward to, first of all, this is the first 7-game series in WNBA history. And so I fully selfishly want it to go 7 just because we can. Like that's just, it's an option. So I would love for it to be pushed to the limit. So I'm rooting for the Mercury to figure this out so we can make it a series. But, we see that on the NBA side all the time. Game 3 is huge because you're either down 0-3 or 2-1. That seems like a chasm in a series. So that's a really big difference. So we have seen this Phoenix Mercury team do the unthinkable. We've seen them come back from 20-point down. We've seen them beat the Liberty and the Lynx. Like they can do hard things. So I'm excited to see the adjustments and just the fire of being at home. And AT has not played, I think she thinks, the best that she can do. So it's going to be a very important game, and I'm curious to see if the Mercury can step up to that. So I'm excited for it.
Selfishly, I would like this series to go 4 games so I can go home.
Sorry,
you don't like the desert?
I miss my dad. No, yes, I'm not a desert creature.
You've got Oasis tickets.
The schedule gets really bad with the 1-1-1 because there's like one day in between on all of them. So 5 games, that's like probably the max I would accept.
Well, also you went to all 5 games last year and like every single player seemed like dead on their feet by 5. So like,
oh, of course. And this is the longest WNBA season in history. And let's throw the longest finals in history. So yes, we talked about this on the Women's Hoop Show today, saying we're as fans begging for game 7, but I know all the media is like, let's wrap this up. Let's really
4. Yeah. As soon as we had a victor in game 1, I have my rooting interest for
I am saying that from home, not on the road.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the Defector angle is here. We'll save money on hotels and flights if it goes 4, but then you could produce some potentially generational blogs if it goes 7. So it's like I'm willing to roll the dice and just keep you in the desert for like a couple extra weeks.
Yeah, that's true. I have to travel and I have to actually write more things. So a lot of pressure for them to sweep.
But the longer this goes, the less time you'll have to consider the psychic damage of the Ron Holland experience in year 2. So there's good things and bad things either way. However, the main thing you attended in Vegas, not the main thing, but a contest. Maybe it was the main thing. I mean, this is the first thing you wrote about for the website is the Cathy press conference. What was the vibe like? Sort of. In the most literal sense, because it sounded like it was in the hottest and smallest room in the entire state of Nevada, and also like the level of sort of hostility, because Cathy's conclusion was basically like, you guys in this press conference are doing fake news about me. So can you just like walk us through the whole experience?
Yeah, it was quite funny, I thought, because Cathy does these every finals or really every WNBA event. She does one of these pressers at the draft or All-Star, and they're usually not that interesting. Like maybe she'll make an announcement. I think last year is when she announced that this year is going to be best of 7. So sometimes there's interesting things that happen at these, but
commissioners love to be like, we've come up with a full AI model of Diana
yes,
Taurasi.
exactly. She's always like introducing some new platform or committee or whatever. Right?
With the Oculus, you can feel like Diana Taurasi for a day. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
And so the press room to get there, it's like a lot of hallways, the press conference room. It's like a lot of hallways, so it's like very sharp corners. So I guess, I was like on the court until 3:56 or whatever, just kind of hanging around watching things. And I was like, all right, I'll mosey on over to the press conference room. I mean, I knew people were excited about it, but I did not anticipate it being as big as it was. So I just...
Can I actually...
In the end,
So I have one question, sorry to cut you off, was this the buzz of the media in the finals?
Yes.
Like, were you, every conversation was like...
That's like all I talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jordan is emphatically nodding as well.
Yes, absolutely. Set
And
a timer. I was not missing this press conference.
And was there... Actually, keep going, and then I have another question later.
Oh, no, so I just turned the corner, and I'm, like, shocked by the number of people, because you can see, like, a crowd outside of the door. So I had to kind of, like, wriggle in there. One thing that I thought was interesting that I've never seen at other Cathy pressers is there were big-name people there, right? Like, ESPN talent was there. Malika Andrews was asking questions. Holly Rowe asked a question. I've never seen the Rebecca Lobo, Ryan Rucco pair there before. They were both there, squashed with me against the wall. So it really was a big deal, and an interesting vibe. I think, as probably everyone expected, no one was totally satisfied by it at the end, and that's sort of how I feel after most Cathy pressers. But yeah, it was just a funny spectacle. And then we had a whole game to watch, which was also fun.
I mean, something you wrote and I guess talked about is that like Cathy, not to sympathize with her, but she's in sort of an impossible position where like she basically has to say that Fee was not like lying, but like wrong when she called her like the worst leader in the history of the world and like aired out all these conversations where she said a bunch of crazy shit. But like if she just outright says like Fee's lying, she's going to get the response she sort of ended up getting anyway. So like, what did you make of how she navigated, I guess poorly, that position?
Yeah, that's sort of what I think is like, if this relationship is probably not one you can salvage anyway, like at least be honest. Just say I said it or I didn't say it. Instead, her response was like, "There's a lot of inaccuracy on social media," and I was like, "Okay, but did you say?"
I have a family. I have children, babies at home
who are like our age, probably.
Yeah, they're in their 20s.
Well, it's also funny
take
to imagine
pity on me.
a baby scrolling Twitter being like, "Fuck, mom's getting dragged." Going back to Paw Patrol.
Yeah, Fee's daughter is on Twitter like, wait, hold up. My mom didn't say all that stuff. I want to ask about these press conferences and then Fee the day later saying that she like canceled a planned meeting and just like the larger sort of order question of how you feel about the state of CBA negotiations and like whether or not there's going to be a season next year, because the commissioner and the most prominent union member having this like very public war of words. I'm no expert. I haven't been in a union in a while, but it seems that that's like a bad development.
Yes, I would say. And also, I don't think this is like as catastrophic for negotiations as some people are making it out to be. One, like, often this just happens, but then it gets done in the end anyway. Like, right, there's like people are like, oh, the deadline's coming up, but even the last CBA didn't get done until January, and they just kept like extending it. And so if they're not super close right now, a lot of these things just come together at the last minute and very suddenly. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I also have been trying to figure out like what the Cathy Engelbert constituency is. Do NBA owners really like her? Is it like, or is she now sort of a bargaining chip where they can be like, all right, fine, we'll get rid of Cathy if you agree to this, right? Like it's something they can offer the players now. And so, yeah, I don't know exactly how she is like valued. Because if she's not, then yeah, she's on the table now.
I
Definitely.
love that it's a
Go ahead,
bargaining chip. I love I didn't think of it like that because I agree. I don't know if it's really going to affect the CBA as much as it's affecting Cathy's job specifically. Like that is what is being put on the chopping block right now and being in the spotlight. This is the first time the WNBA has had this title of commissioner. It has been president before. It hasn't had this level of weight. So of course, this finger pointing is what you sign up for when you are commissioner. Everything is on you. It is. I remember talking to someone who isn't really a WNBA fan, but they're like, you just call Cathy. Like you don't even say her full name. You don't say commissioner. Like we don't say Adam Silver, just, Adam. It is a level of disrespect why we just call her Cathy. And that is just the conversations around the W, but it's a uncharted territory because it's never been this role before. But then also this idea of Napheesa Collier attacking, and what it's been in the past is WNBA leadership as an umbrella and the league and these really ominous phrases. And for Napheesa to say, no, this is Cathy saying these things, makes it feel very specific to her. And whether the CBA gets signed or not, and when, feels like a separate conversation to, is Cathy going to be the commissioner next season? And that's what it feels like is more of a focus in this specific talk to me.
That's such a good point. And as is the Cathy point, like, I don't think we've said her last name once on this podcast, nor have I thought about her as anything other than Cathy.
She's Cathy.
She's Cathy. She's such a Cathy. The thing I think about with these negotiations, and the reason I'm sort of pessimistic about there being a season on time next year, is like the players are clearly trying to make a like basketball related. They're trying to peg the salary cap to like BRI in the same way that like the NBA has, most other unions. And most analyses have them earning about like 9%, which is like crazy. NBA is like 51 or 52. And so I think they're going to ask, and they should ask, and hopefully do get like right around 50 or more percent. And I think the owners will say like, let's do more gradual growth. Here's like 15. And I think just because that gap is so large, and because the players are like so well organized and for a year have been just like getting everyone in line, I think just like the NBA owners and the WNBA is like not going to want to budge. I don't know. Does anyone else feel as pessimistic as me?
Yeah, that was something, now I'm just going to notice it every time. That was something Cathy said at her press conference. She was like, I want everyone to remember, like, we kind of all want the same thing. We want to significantly increase everyone's salaries, but there are many degrees of significance. And so that's like still a fight. I don't think it's as neat as she put it.
Yeah, it's like they could quadruple everyone's salaries and they would still be like crazy underpaid. And the league could say, look, we quadrupled your salaries. And then Stewie could say, I'm still not making $1 million a year. Like a Brooklyn Nets rookie gets like 10x what I do. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think Cathy, commissioner, I think she's
Commissioner
riding
Engelbert.
the coattails of her past success. I think that when she, even just in this position at all, can look to the last CBA and say, look at all the change that we've had, you know, and look how different it is. And look at these charter flights. Like, look at these shiny things that we have already given you, just like a lot of employers do, to say, look at everything you have. How could you possibly want more than this? And it does feel like a very large gap, but I feel confident that the players feel more united than ever. Like, this is a really big deal. And I keep saying this. This is the biggest CBA in WNBA history, but it's the biggest one in women's sports history. Like, this is a huge, huge moment. And so, yes, I think the deadline of October 31st, like, I think we could all agree they're not going to kumbaya and hold hands in like 3 weeks. But everything else is going to get pushed back because of that. Like, there is expansion drafts that need to happen. There is a huge free agency because like 90% of the league are free agents. Then you get to the actual draft. Like, there's so many things that get pushed back if they don't come to an agreement soon-ish. And then the other part of it that I secretly love is that Unrivaled is like, we're happening in January regardless. And if we need to go 5-on-5 and extend our season, you bet your ass we will. And so that whole thing of the W not wanting more eyes on Unrivaled should be a little more motivation to get this over the finish line.
Yeah, it was funny they were doing their like player announcements while this was all going on, right? It was just like getting emails.
Business as usual.
It was actually funny. So I'm remembering a different Cathy presser. This was at the draft this year. And I want to say like 40% of the questions she got were about Unrivaled. And like, can you do that? And you can tell
what
she
did
was
she
like,
say?
she could tell she was pretty annoyed because she was like
pissed about it.
Yeah, so
they are
like, she was kind of like,
we're
it's cute that you do that for 36 players. She's like, obviously we have whatever 150 players to think about, but good for them or whatever.
Well, you know what, Maitreyi? I was thinking about that press conference when Fee said these quotes from Cathy, because she had such an attitude when asked about Unrivaled, and she scoffed at this idea that it was competition or that they were even remotely similar. And it was very much like, we're the big leagues, that's small leagues over there. And it was this bravado, this tone that she came with in that presser that was very annoyed. And so, yeah, I think you said these things, Cathy, because this is the same type of conversation, especially reading in the ESPN article that came out today with Kendra and Ramona Shelburne. They were talking about how Cathy was the one that called that meeting in February with Nafisa Collier and her husband to talk about Unrivaled. And Unrivaled, they offered the WNBA to be a partner in them with this. Like, it was supposed to be this kumbaya type of thing, and then it became weird and rivalry like. But yeah, I felt that energy from that press conference, and I'm like, yeah, Cathy, you said those things. I know you did. You didn't say you did it. You didn't say you did it.
Another thing sort of undercutting Mrs. Engelbert's position here is like the fact that WNBA salaries are so low means that like I'm actually sort of confident that Unrivaled could get together the money to employ like 100+ people for 5-on-5, just because it's like the salary cap is like $1.5 million. Like, it's like you could really get that so easily. And then I'm almost wondering, like, I don't like, do you remember in the NBA strike in 2020 when Kyrie very briefly was like, why do we need owners? We could just kind of start our own league. Mm-hmm. And it felt sort of fantastical at the time, but it's like the argument made sense, but it's like a lot harder to imagine if like guys are making 50 million. Like, it's pretty easy to imagine if you're making 150K and you're like the best player in your team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a element of like just desserts here. Like these are leagues that have been kind of skating on underpaying their players and sort of not investing properly. Like I guess probably all people should be rooting for labor in general, but I do think there's like I think there's there just feels like a excited about the comeuppance of a company handling this wrong. Like I saw the glee in what you were saying, Jordan, of like, yeah, I hope it's about time like a company or another league disrupted the WNBA and they had to suddenly be like, oh my God, like shit, we have to pay our players the right amount of money. One thing about the Cathy first name thing, which I think is really I was thinking about this before you said the cat first name thing, but then it even further went down this point is like there is a adage of like be ruthless to systems but kind to individuals, and like that people, that is sort of a kind way to think about like politics, organizing, whatever. Cathy is in this funny middle ground where like because she's an individual, there is a ton of like narrative power to criticizing her. It's so much easier to wrap your head around like, Cathy, this person is doing something bad or she's mishandling, rather than like when in other times when you're like criticizing this sort of opaque system, it can almost feel like you're criticizing capitalism or whatever, which is not true. It's just you're not necessarily criticizing capitalism. You just want the fucking league to run right. On the other hand, there is this element with Cathy that I am worried about, where she is doing exactly what a commissioner is supposed to be doing, protecting the owners and being this sort of Roger Goodell punching bag. Like it's one of those things where anytime anybody says Roger Goodell is a bad commissioner, he's like, that's like perfect evidence for that he's a good commissioner, because he's like absorbing the punches. And I think there was a note in your story, Maitreyi, that there's some reporting or some speculation that she will leave after this, and like that she could almost be, there is a scary side to all of this where she ends up being this perfect patsy for like what's wrong with the W. And it's like, oh, we got like, look at this amazing deal. You got 23% of the salary cap or 23% of the market, but we got rid of big bad Cathy, which would be this leveraging the power of the individual versus, the system. So it's just very interesting. I think there's a lot of weird, like, ways that people are thinking about labor and power and all of this. So that's my spiel.
I mean, I agree 100%. And the other thing I was thinking about this is like the Caitlin Clark factor here is quite, not to go Christine mode, but to do another first name. The ways that both Cathy and Christine talk about Caitlin.
Face from Jordan. Sorry.
I don't know. Like the way people who don't really watch basketball talk about the league and imagine the league is that like literally it's Caitlin Clark who is doing all of this and she is the one responsible. And it's like, it would be a useful counter argument that like AT and Asia are leading their teams to the finals if those people cared about basketball or watched it. But just like, I don't know, what do you guys make of the Clark factor and all this? Because I feel like she has just kind of not, like, she gave like a small tisk to Cathy, but like hasn't really been a very public part of negotiations.
I thought an interesting thing that Feed did, it was like she was pretty much able to unite all the like warring women's basketball factions against Cathy.
Yeah,
like,
Sophie said
no
something.
one's like a huge Cathy fan, right?
Mm-hmm. Genius.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think people were using the meme of like the Bloods and Crips tying their bandanas together and in unity. That was Caitlin Clark fans and Angel Reese's fans. It was so purposeful for Nafisa Collier to say Caitlin, Angel, and Paige. Like those are the names that everybody is going to gravitate towards. And then to come back with a very specific quote about Caitlin Clark was chef's kiss. Brilliant. I think there is always a Caitlin Clark element to everything, but being able to get her reaction, I saw the clip of her during her excerpt interview and I was like, great, we'll take it. Like, that was something of her saying Fee had valid points and the league deserves great leadership. And she wasn't aware of Cathy saying those comments. It was something. I'll take it. And that's kind of my expectation of Caitlyn in all of these situations. I don't know, people were like, Caitlyn should say something. Why isn't she saying more things? If you hear that somebody's saying you should be grateful that and then put what you're making out there, like, I don't know what she was supposed to say to that. So I think that it was the correct response. But yeah, it's always going to have a Caitlin Clark element, I feel like.
I think the main thing I'm interested in with Caitlyn is whether or not she refers to Cathy as such, or uses the commissioner or her full name or some other euphemism.
She says Cathy. Yeah. In the group text, they're all saying Cathy.
This is like one of those things when you say any word enough, it just like denatures from its meaning and just becomes a pair of syllables. So in my head, it's just like Cathy.
Well, I want to, maybe the one final thing to get us out of here is like, there's a like a desire to sort of Cathy. Oh, that's what the word is. There's a Cathy to Cathy. There is a desire to sort of like play, like look at this like a game of chess and sort of like play deputized PR, head of PR for both organizations, and try to figure out, like, was this smart by Fee for the players union? Was this not? Is Cathy's, like, who is winning the battle of this PR thing right now? My knee-jerk reaction was originally to actually be like, this was sort of like a misstep by Fee, like, she shouldn't, like, this is obfuscating, like, she's sad she sad she lost, she's sad about the physicality of the league and blah blah blah, and like that's gonna take away from this larger point. But honestly, after, I'm not just saying this, after reading Maitreyi, your piece about this, and then also Jordan, something you were saying about how you believe that she would have said this regardless, like, and they sort of like context in which that he has been very outspoken in the past about all kinds of stuff. And then also maybe over the course of unpacking this, it did make me feel more like, no, there was this bubbling anger and it needed to come out. And so Fee's sort of, there was a phrase you used, Maitreyi, like, it's tactical unspecificity, or it was something to the point of like what was so smart about it was how slightly all over the place the attack was. So I guess see this as a win in the labor for labor versus ownership. That's where the dust has settled for me now. Where has it fallen for you guys?
Yeah, I think so. One thing that's just tricky, like, my instinct is always to compare this to other sports labor fights, and the playbook here for ownership I also think is just so different. Like, you can't play they're like greedy millionaires, right, card, like, right, who want all this money, and like I think I was reading about the other NBA strike, and it was like, or lockout, and it was like Patrick Ewing was like, we need more money because we spend a lot, or we need lots of money because we spend lots of money, or something. And it was this like kind of gaffe. And so I don't think you have that really here, because everyone who hears about WNBA salaries for the first time, in my experience, is like really stunned by them. I've gotten that reaction like a bunch of times when people ask me, they're like, what? And they are like stunning. They are stunningly low, right? So yeah, I'm not sure exactly if this is winnable PR wise for them. But maybe that doesn't matter.
I totally look at it from a PR standpoint. I'm rewatching Scandal right now, so I am like full Olivia Pope, breaking down every single word that each of these statements have said, and I'm like, nope, they should have used this word. They should, like, full tactical PR reaction from me. And I think it was genius from Fee. And that was my first thought, that she was going to say this regardless, that she's saying this from, like, it also had to be her. It had to be Fee that said this. She's coming from an unrivaled side. She's coming from the vice president of the WNBA. She just lost in a close game. She was runner up to MVP. It had to be her. And I think that was also super important. So that's the first thing I thought of. When we think of a winner, Fee is for sure winning, because even after the weak statement response from Cathy in the print form, that I was like, you should have just waited to the press conference, because I don't know what the heck that was. Then the press conference comes and you essentially are alluding that Nafisa Collier is a liar. No one believes you. Everyone is already still on Team Fee. And then she talks about this arbitrary meeting that they are going to have. And then Fee's like, no, I'm canceling it. That is so good. Like, that is tactical.
Yeah, and I think once Cathy decided, which she did pretty immediately, when that statement went around, once she decided that, like, she actually wanted to Fee's favor, that she, like, wanted to be liked basically by the players, then the power dynamic kind of reveals itself.
To quote Olivia Pope, it is a privilege to talk to me, and you lost that privilege. She said that in an episode so cold, so good, and I feel like Fee basically said that. Like, no, you lost that. This relationship is broken beyond repair. That's what a source said. That's what Fee believes. And now what is Cathy gonna do? Like, it's in her court to make a move or make amends. And you have players like Elena Deladon coming out the woodworks being like, I don't even know if Cathy knows I retired. Like, just shots firing from all over the place. So
Elena Deladon in her woodworking studio.
Yes, she does nothing. She says nothing ever. For her to come out and blast you was just perfect. So yeah, I think Fee is winning this PR battle. Will it pay dividends in the CBA specifically? I'm curious, but this whole back and forth, I don't think this is the last time we're going to be talking about it. I think it's so much layers to this, but yeah, Fee's winning PR right now.
Yeah, that's a perfect place to end it. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining. If people want more of your stuff, where should they go? What should they do?
I will be writing WNBA stuff on Defector.com. Hopefully I have 2 more games to cover, 2 more blogs to write, but we will see. I'm headed to Phoenix in a few hours, so that is where you can find my stuff.
Yay, can't wait for that. You can listen to the Women's Hoop Show. We'll be covering all the games of the finals multiple times a week. And then follow me on all the social medias, because I have other thoughts that I think about after we record always, and I make videos there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Thank you. In conclusion, Cathy.
We can all agree.